Conscious Cousins, and welcome to 2026. Y'all, we are in a new calendar year. Time is flying, okay? Time is flying. And I don't know about y'all, but I have been fighting for dear life to keep the desire to live in my purpose. We just started 26, and the orange idiot is already out here bombing countries, stealing presidents, capturing people, and bringing them back to America. So with all the things that has been going on with the administration, it has been very hard for me to keep up with the positive energy. And it feels like I never know what the hell is going to happen next. And I don't like that. Now, at the end of 2025, I felt so much despair, so much defeat because of the current administration. And then I had to realize that is their goal is to put us in a place where we don't want to go for our dreams anymore, where we feel hopeless, where we feel like the things that we aspire to be aren't worthy of continuing to achieve. They want us to lose hope, but in 26, we are not doing that. We're going to push through their cloak that they're trying to force on us and live, okay? Now, if you align with this message, you are in the right place. My name is Keandra. I am a conscious living coach, and I help guide millennial women away from doubt and confusion into clarity so they can stop outsourcing their power and start choosing themselves with confidence, calm, and trust, okay? My work centers personal insights over urgency, wisdom over performance, and grounded decisions over emotional chaos. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is a life update video. So I gotta tell y'all what's been going on. So the first thing that's been going on is your girl mastered it. Let me show y'all. Officially got my master's in clinical mental health counseling from Liberty University. Okay. I'm a master's. I am in the master's group. Now, I said I'm gonna frame this. Because I have my bachelor's degree behind me and it's just sitting there. So I said I am going to frame this. Now, let me share a timeline of my journey with y'all. So I went back to get my master's way back in 2020 during the pandemic. I completed most of my courses and my practicum by 2022, but also became a single parent at the end of 2022. So I ended up taking a break from school to avoid being too overwhelmed. Becoming a single parent was extremely hard for me because I never saw myself in that position. Like I never pictured myself being a single parent. We were co-parenting for 3 years and then it stopped. And we're going to leave it there, okay? Now, fast forward to 2024, I saw Project 2025 and I saw how the current administration planned to attack education. So to me, I was like, okay, I need to go ahead and get this degree before it was no longer an option, especially since I only had 2 semesters left of internship and then 1 to 2 more classes left to graduate. So I was like, I might as well go ahead and knock this out, be done with it, move on to the next phase of life. I spent most of 2024 wallowing over this decision because I knew it would take a lot out of me. I am a single parent, so quitting my 9 to 5 to finish the degree was not an option. I know a lot of people have the option to just focus on school, and a lot of my co-interns, they were able to do that. They were just in school, just interning. I didn't have that luxury. I got to work. So this meant that I did have to figure out how, if I could mentally work my 9 to 5, take on the coursework, a client caseload, internship obligations, and still be present for my son and my family because those are core values for me. It took all year to finally decide, but by August I did decide, and then by October 2024 I was accepted into the master's program to complete my master's. So I spent the end of 2024 basically relaxing. I traveled, I went to the spa, I kept my phone on D&D. I am a D&D warrior, okay? And I stayed away from anybody who was a stressor instead of a breath of fresh air. I am a big believer in resetting your nervous system before taking on big tasks. And completing this master's was going to be a big task. Like, it's a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. So I started my internship with Integrated Counseling Center in January of 2025. And let's talk about burnout. Okay, let's talk about burnout. My internship was from January 2025 to August 2025. So I spent 8 months last year being a baby therapist, working my 9 to 5, being a single parent, managing internship responsibilities like attending and hosting workshops, community service, and community events. I actually helped throw my very first event during my internship, and it was actually a success. I was in charge of getting the vendors and setting up the vendors, getting them all situated, doing all those things. And I was actually surprised because I learned that I had a pretty good skill set of connecting with people in the community to show up and show out. So I was shocked because I am not an event thrower, y'all. The idea of throwing an event will make me break out in a sweat. That's how anxious event planning is for me. So I am thankful that I pushed myself at the internship to help throw the event, because normally I'm like, oh, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But I was like, you know what? I'll take on a really big important task, because of course if there are no vendors at the event, there's no event. So I was really excited about the fact that I was able to overcome something that I hate doing, because I do hate planning events. I do hate being like a big part of the event. I kind of just want to show up and support. But I was not able to do that this time. But it worked out because now I'm going to be throwing my own event in March, which I'm going to talk about later in the video. So back to the burnout. By May of last year, I was that kind of tired that no amount of sleep could help. Okay? I was in full survival mode, jumping from task to task with no breaks. So I would literally get off of work for my 9 to 5. So I would close my laptop for my 9 to 5 and then open my personal laptop and do sessions with clients. No breaks, okay? I wasn't taking any time off because I really just didn't have the luxury to take the time off. I had to get the hours within the 8 months. The only day that the practice had like completely off was Sunday. So I was working throughout the week on the weekend. The only day I had off from the practice was Sunday, but I worked my 9 to 5 on Sundays. So again, no breaks. I was working 7 days a week for months. I wasn't taking time off. I was neglecting my needs to ensure I could show up for my clients and my son. And I was avoiding close connections because I just didn't have it, y'all. I didn't have it. I did not have the capacity to care about anything but getting that degree. I just didn't have the capacity. People were like, you want to go do this? You want to come to this event? You want to help us with this? No, I don't have it. I don't have it. I'm sorry. I'm tired from last week and it's Thursday. I don't have it. And then to add to the burnout, y'all, how about I made a mistake around June of 2025? So this is what, six months into the internship. So my clinical supervisor, she's very type A, which I love. I like type A personalities because I like someone who's over me that's very organized, because I like order. I'm a very orderly, step-by-step type of woman. You know this if you work with me, and you know this if you watch my content. I like orders, processes, all of those things. So she had this beautiful tracking spreadsheet so we could keep up with our hours, because we have a certain amount of hours that need to be direct. We have a certain amount of hours that we can have telehealth. We have a certain amount of hours that need to be indirect. Like, we have limits on what these 600 hours were. So how about in June, I realized that my tracker had been broken and my hours were wrong. My hours were wrong, y'all. And I was so devastated because it's June. Originally, I was supposed to be done at the end of July, mid-August. Originally, I was supposed to be done 2 weeks into August. I ended up having to extend it because my tracker was broken. I was not going to get the hours in that time frame that I currently had. When I tell you, I cried right then and there when I realized the tracker was broken. I remember Rich was my son. He was here and he was like, "You okay? What's wrong? What's going on?" I'm just like, "Look, give me a second, son." Because in my mind, I'm like, well, I just did all this work for nothing. That's what it felt like. I had did all this work for nothing. But I let myself have that moment. So for that night, I didn't worry about it. I wasn't stressing about it. I was like, you know what? We're going to have to deal with this tomorrow, because if I try to deal with this tonight, I'm just going to piss myself off. I am just going to piss myself off, and I am going to feel so defeated that I can't find a solution. So I allowed myself to have that time that night. And then the next day I was okay, let's get to figuring this out. Like, we got to figure something out. So again, like I said before, I did end up extending my semester by 2 weeks. But for those 3 months, I was working on straight burnout. So from June to August, straight burnout. There was no rest. There was no chill. There was no days off, because I had to get those hours. I was like determined not to do another semester. I was like, I can't handle another semester of all these different responsibilities. And one of the things that I love teaching my clients is learn your minimums and your maximums. I know my minimums and my maximums. Like, even when people were like, how are you going to work your 9 to 5 and do the internship? Been there, done that. I have always worked and gone to school. The only time I did not have a job when I was in school was in 2022. I quit teaching in 2022. So I had like the summer off. I had the summer off from working, and then I had up until like October of 2022 off from working. So that was the only time I've ever been in school without a job. Any other time, I had a job. So throughout my entire bachelor's degree, I had a job. So I'm used to this. So I know my minimums and my maximums when it comes to my energy levels, when it comes to my capacity to handle things and deal with things. You have to learn that. And that's something that I do teach my clients. And with the upcoming workshop that I'm going to tell you about later on in the video, that's something that you will learn too about yourself. So that way you can make more conscious decisions about what you will and won't accept, what you will and won't do, and what goals do and don't make sense based on the season of your life that you're in. Okay, now back to the burnout. Thank God for my supervisor. Because what we did was we started to meet weekly in August, because originally I was only supposed to have 2 weeks of school left in August, but because I had to extend it was 4 weeks. So that meant 4 weeks of making sure I got these hours. So every single week I had a certain amount of hours that I was going to get. And I love being in alignment too. I'm an avid believer, and sometimes you have to let the universe work things out. Because there were times where I had clients cancel sessions, but then I had another client that I hadn't heard from reach out and schedule a session. I'm like, yes, thank you, because I need the hours. Thank you. So it did end up working out. There were clients that kind of ghosted me over the summer, which I know that's kind of normal in the practice to have less client sessions in the summertime. People be outside living their life, traveling, all the things. I get that. So I did have a couple clients that kind of like went ghost during the summer, popped back up around August, and I was like, thank you, because I need these hours. I am not doing another semester. But with the help of my supervisor, y'all, I got them 600 hours, okay? We hit them. I think I went a little over 600 hours. So I was like, yeah. And to be honest, I still don't feel like I've like fully celebrated that accomplishment, because I was so tired. I couldn't do nothing but reset my mind, body, and spirit, y'all. I was so tired. I haven't been that tired in a long time, because I haven't lived in survival mode since I was a teacher. When I quit teaching, I spent the rest of that year healing my mind, my body, and my spirit, because teaching had me in survival mode. So I had never been that depressed in my life. And I remember being so depressed in 2021, that winter, that I was just in, I remember taking a shower and not having any feelings. Like, I'm a Cancer. Okay? I always feel something. But I remember like being in the shower and feeling nothing. Like I just had nothing to give. I literally just had nothing. And I was like, you know what? I'm not living my life like this. So that's when I did decide to quit, and I decided I wasn't going back to teaching. So I finished a year out, but I haven't gone back to teaching since, and I will never do it again. So with all that being said, back to 2025, I decided to spend Q4 in full reset mode. Now, normally I do believe in resetting in Q1, but that internship took everything out of me. So that was nothing but pure discipline, because I lost all motivation when I found out that tracker was broke. Okay? When I found out that tracker was broke, I had zero motivation to do any of that shit. So that was all discipline 100%. Now, I tell y'all all the time that you can't get out of survival mode until you do a full reset. You have to fully reset your nervous system. And I like to take my own advice. So reset for me looked like sleeping deep and long. And I mean deep and long. I mean 10, 11, 12 hours of sleep straight. And I'm not exaggerating. It meant reconnecting with my family by traveling and going out together. It meant being real with my therapist about how I was feeling and what I needed from myself and from others. It meant taking time off work so I can spend more time doing absolutely nothing. I had some PTO days where I literally just did nothing. I just laid on the couch and watched TV. Resetting my nervous system for me also meant accepting help and support from my family with my son, so that way I could take a break from serving someone else and just serve me. When you are a single parent, that is so important to lean on your community in that way, because sometimes you just don't want to have to think about feeding somebody else. Sometimes you don't want to have to think about bathing somebody or cleaning up after somebody or serving someone else. Sometimes you just want to serve yourself. Or sometimes you don't want to serve anybody. You just want to lay around all day and do nothing. And that's okay. Those are things that will help reset your nervous system when you're in survival mode, because when you're in survival mode and you're always on go, you don't really allow yourself a moment to do nothing. It's usually like something has to be done. The dishes have to be cleaned. An email has to be sent, like something has to be done, an appointment has to be booked. But once you allow yourself to really start having days where you do absolutely nothing, you're not cleaning, you're not cooking, you're not serving anybody, you're not putting someone else's needs or wants before you. You're just taking care of yourself. That is really going to help reset your nervous system. And I teach my clients how to do this because it's necessary. There's no point in setting goals when you are in survival mode. It's not going to benefit you long term. It may benefit you, like in this case, it may benefit you to get to that end goal. But unless you have the time to reset your nervous system, then you're just going to be in burnout until you take that time. So me taking that time to reset my nervous system allowed me to have some internal quiet. It's hard to have internal quiet when you're always serving. It's just hard because you're always thinking like about your clients. You're always thinking about your family. You're always thinking about your friends. You're always thinking about other people. So when you allow yourself to reset your nervous system, that gives you that internal quiet. And it gave me some peace that I needed so I could feel empowered again, so that I could feel rejuvenated and interconnected again. Those are really important values to me. I like feeling rejuvenated. I don't like feeling like I'm just being ran through the mud. I don't like that. Sometimes it feels that way because lives. But I don't like feeling that way for weeks, months, years at a time. So that is what has been going on with me, but I do have a surprise. So I have been working solely online in my coaching business, and so many people have requested that I offer something in person. So I took that into consideration and decided to do the From Doubt to Decision challenge in person at the end of March. This is going to be an in-person 3-hour workshop that helps you shift out of constantly feeling stuck and overwhelmed by decision. One of the reasons why I created this challenge because I suffered from decision paralysis for many years of my life. Like so many experiences that I had in my life in the past weren't from decisions I made. It was from putting the decision off on someone else because I was having anxiety about making decisions. It was from me just accepting whatever someone offered because then I don't have to decide if this is already what you got going on, cool, I'm right there with that. And then so many of us are paralyzed by overthinking. So many of us are disconnected from our intuition and in a constant loop of confusion and doubt. And I went through that when I was having decision paralysis back in the day. So everything that I'm going to be teaching in this workshop is going to be what I teach my clients and what I've used in my own life to go from overthinking, getting my master's degree, to actually having it. Because I'm sure there are a lot of goals, lifestyles, life decisions that you have been overthinking and overwhelmed about for years, that if you just decided, either way, sometimes the decision is that I'm not going that route at all. I'm going to think of something else. That is okay too. I think sometimes people are lost in that loop of should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? Sometimes it's just not the season for that. When I made the decision to take a break from school, I knew that was best for me at that time and at that season of my life. When I made the decision to go back to school, I knew that was best for me at that time and at that phase of my life. So those are the things that this challenge will help you get to, is a place where you can say yes or no with confidence. Because a lot of us are not doing that, especially if you're a generator like me. I'm a generator. That's how I operate. I operate in yes or no. Yes or no. That's it. Anything else, anything but a yes is a no. If it's not a yes, it's a no. That's how I operate. So that is how I also help with my clients, especially when I use human design with my clients. And I'm like, okay, you're a generator too. Cool, because most people are generators. So you're a generator too. We're going to figure out ways for you to learn your yes and your no and make it clear. Now, until the workshop, I want you to focus on resetting. I'm not really a big goal making in the wintertime kind of woman. I feel like this is a better time for us to kind of come down from the holiday stress, the holiday high. I want to make sure that what you choose and focus on in March actually comes from your heart, from your gut, and not from expectations from those around you. A lot of the decision paralysis that you feel, the overthinking that you experience, the overwhelm is from the chaos around you. It's from the noise around you. And it's not intentionally from people trying to harm or hurt, but people have opinions and they share them. And so sometimes their opinions start to overshadow what you know is true. And I want to help you wade through that and move it away. Okay? Now, the link to purchase your ticket is going to be in the description below. Tickets are $44. The event is going to be held in Metro Atlanta, and the location will be shared by email by February 28th. So if you purchase your ticket, you're going to get on that email list. You're going to get the information. Now, this is going to give you plenty of time to make any necessary arrangements because the workshop is going to be at the end of March. I haven't decided if it's going to be on the 21st or the 28th. Working those things out now, but We are building it while we do it, okay? That is one thing I have definitely learned, is to just put it out there. Let's see, how it works, and we're going to do it, okay? Now, this is going to be my very first in-person event. Y'all know I do a lot of online workshops. I have a lot of free courses and trainings on YouTube. So I'm super excited to be able to help guide you in person and in real time. So be sure to get your ticket as soon as possible, because there are only going to be 20 tickets, okay? 20 tickets. 20 tickets, that's it. The link in the description has all the other details about the events. But if you have any questions, please be sure to drop a comment in the comment section, or email me at keytoyourgoals@gmail.com. Also, drop some of your personal life updates in the comments as well. I'd love to know what's going on with you, what is going on with in your world, and how you living. Okay? Thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you in March.